Yes, good morning. My name is Shashi Menon. This is the September meeting of the Council on Aging Board. As required by law, I have to read an opening statement. No, before I get to that, I have to take a roll call vote because all voting will be done by roll call because of this COVID-19 thing. So members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Louise Russell.
Here.
Holly Lucht.
Present.
Barbara Zuwag.
It's Betsy, and yes, I'm here.
Present.
Yes.
Zoya Mehta.
Present.
Barbara DiPaolo.
Present.
Norma Chimantaro.
Present.
Are there going to be any other speakers expected here, Laurie? Anybody from your staff? No. So this is the introduction to the remote meeting that I'm required to read by law. Good morning. This open meeting of the Council on Aging Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirements of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting of the Council on Aging Board is convening by telephone as well as by using Google Meet as posted on the town's website. The meeting is now called to order. The first item on the minute is to review and act on the meeting to accept the minutes of the July 2020 meeting. As Barbara was beginning to explain, it is miscommunication between her and me because the word, I was reviewing her word formatted minutes, and I used the review feature of Word, and we found out that is not compatible with her computer. Barbara, you want to explain further what you were going to do before? You're welcome to do that now.
No, I just, there were a lot of red boxes, so I suggested that you correct the technical wording that you wanted to include, and then just send it to the board. I'm okay with all of it.
Now, I had the reason I wanted to table this is because I had two or three questions that were not, that either I intended to ask or forgot to ask. Oh, I asked and forgot all about it. That's what happens when you get to be a senior. But what I'm going to do is before I update the minutes, I will circulate my questions to the board, and then we'll see what kind of response you guys get. Before I go on to the next meeting, I would like to introduce the newest member. I should have done that at the beginning. Our newest member, Betsy Zuwag, and it's traditional that the new member is required to say something about themselves. And Betsy,
had I known, I would have prepared. Well, as you
surprised is part of the tradition.
I'm sorry?
Being surprised is part of the tradition.
Oh, all right, forewarned. I am pleased to be part of the board. I've been a resident of Shrewsbury for 35 years. My daughter has gone through the Shrewsbury Public Schools, starting with our colleague, Mrs. Russell, Louise Russell, in whose classroom I volunteered for a year. So I feel as though, although it's been a long time, I do know you a little bit. I have recently retired as a professor at Quinsigamond Community College, and I continue to teach a couple of classes there part-time, and I'm looking forward to contributing anything that I can, anything that is needed to the Council on Aging, because as a senior, I have a vested interest in what we do.
Okay.
Welcome, Betsy. What did you teach?
Welcome.
Barbara, I don't even want to tell you because I taught English.
You're the new secretary.
Oh, no, I'm new.
Now I have to insist that you address the chair and raise your hand to be identified before you speak. We cannot have a free-for-all discussion. Barbara?
I vote that Betsy be the new secretary. She's an English teacher.
Oh, no. Put my hand up, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Betsy.
Welcome, Betsy.
I decline that nomination. With
We're not going, it's not on the agenda yet. So please limit your discussion and stay to the topic, because we only have, I think Holly would like to have this done by 11, is it? Good. She got more important things to do. Moving right along, the next item should be to review and act on the financial reports. So should we start with Louise, you're the local expert on the budget, so should we start with the budget sheet? What would you like to start with?
Shashi, if I may, can we have Christine go through them?
That might be even better. Go ahead, Christine.
Thank you.
So I'll start with the colored sheets, the blue and orange, just those are the breakdowns. As you can see, there wasn't a whole lot this past month. To start with the orange, there was no activity in the DOT grant account, and there was no activity in the gift account, sorry. So those balances stayed the same. The revolving account had, yes, Louise?
Christine.
Shashi, Louise has a question.
Louise has a question.
I had a question about the gift account, Christine. We were taking the money from the meals out of the gift account, weren't we?
Yes, so we'll get a bill from Elder Services at the end of the month.
I'll give an update on the grab and go if we can just keep going through the financials at this point.
Because, I mean, the monies then will not come out of the gift fund until the end of the month instead of during the month. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Christine, please continue.
So just, I do want to point something out in the last account summary that I gave. The account balance for the general fund was higher. It was about $25,000. So this month, what I've done is I've only included the monies that we currently have. The town has not yet distributed the funds for the general funds that were voted on in the town meeting. So just to keep a current accurate balance, this is what we have right now. Once we receive those funds, I will update the amount here to reflect that increase. But other than that, like I said, we didn't have a whole lot of changes. If anybody has any specific questions, we can go over that. But we still do not have our full total for the formula grant. The DOT account, like I said, there was no change, so that's still $18,408. The gift fund is $43,844. The revolving account, $16,728. And our general fund operating expenses are $4,392. Are there any
if I can,
Holly?
Yep, so I just wanted to add on the formula grant. I did speak with Elder Affairs the other day, and it seems as though we will still receive the same amount that we would normally do, not the same amount as last year, because if we remember, we were deducted some. So we'll receive the 79,000 this year, and they are not making any Massachusetts towns go through the application process. It's going to be an automatic. Everybody's just getting the same money just because of everything due to COVID. So I did want to let people know about that.
Good. That's good.
Norma, did you have a question?
Yes, I do have a question. I was just wondering, what microwave was replaced?
Oh, we have a microwave in the office, and our previous microwave broke. So
Oh, I was just curious which one it was. Okay.
Is that considered office equipment? Or is that come out of our?
No, so not technically a microwave is not office equipment. It's a luxury item for the staff, to have their meals and things like that.
So where was that? To what account was that charged? To our general account?
The general fund.
Okay. Any other questions on the financial reports? If there isn't, I propose we move on to the director's report. Holly, you're on.
Sure. So we'll start with the van transfer. So we did, after some going back and forth with the town of Lynn, who was actually great to work with, we finally have the new van. It is in our parking lot. We are in the process of getting new tires for it. It got inspected last week. The COA 98 van is going to go to auction. So Kristen Lass is working on that. And that just ends up back, not in our general fund, but the reserve fund.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Sure.
I didn't understand what you just said, going to auction. What does that mean?
So the COA 98 van, the one that's not running, the one that we just replaced. So what happens typically in the town, whether it's a COA van or a DPW truck or anything like that, when those vehicles go into retirement, if you will, they all end up getting auctioned. And so whatever money comes from that van will go back to the town of Shrewsbury, not back to COA.
Because the reason I ask is because there was a time that we talked about having that as a spare van for us.
It does not run. The lifts does not work. That's why we had it completely replaced. That's going away.
So what is our total number of vans available to us now?
We still have 4. So we just received the other van from the town of Lynn.
All right, gotcha.
4 working vans. If there's no other questions on that, I'll move on to B, the scholarship. So I've done a little bit of homework looking into that, and I thought the best thing to do for the scholarship is to have it based around any senior, any Shrewsbury senior that is either going to school for gerontology or perhaps has taken care of a loved one, an elderly, family member, if they've taken care of somebody like that, or if there's been anybody that has donated any time to the senior center, as well as volunteering. So kind of keeping it broad, and then asking them to write, like a 5-page summary, if you will, on, what they're expecting their future to look like if they're going to school for, gerontology, or if they've taken care. And then we'll make copies for everybody. We can all read them, and we all then vote on the person that we want. And so one of the things that we need to think about is how much money do we want to give for the scholarship. Typically, scholarships range anywhere from $250 to $1,000. So I wanted to bring that to the board just so I can start writing something up to have for the October meeting for us to then kind of publish the scholarship and get that out there. Because usually they are awarded in January.
excuse me, Louise, go ahead. Louise, you're on.
Are we going to set up any kind of scholarship fund? And also to include in that some kind of fundraising?
So for Council on Aging, as we've discussed before, we're not allowed to fundraise. And I have been talking with some of the members of the Friends of group, and at this moment, because of COVID and because many of them aren't leaving their homes, they're not comfortable kind of doing the fundraising that is needed. So I've been trying to come up with other ideas for them. But again, it's just been difficult because, like I said, many of the members just are not comfortable leaving their homes. And in order to really get anything completed, you need to. And you need to be able to Zoom or do Google Hangouts and see each other all as a group. And from the information that I've gathered, they haven't been able to do that yet. So as far as, a scholarship fund, I believe that in August, we talked about using some of the gift fund money just to put that forward towards for the scholarship fund. I could be wrong, but Shashi, just so you know, I did see Zoya's hand up before.
I have a couple of questions. Zoya, just a minute. I have a couple of questions. Is this scholarship now that we're going forward with this? Does this have to be voted on by the board, by the body of the senior center? Anybody like that? Or has it already been done?
So I believe, again, in August that we did discuss going forward with the scholarship, and I said I would come back with just some general ideas, just as I just mentioned. So if the board wants to vote to do a scholarship going forward, I would suggest a vote. The board would have to vote on a number for the scholarship to be given. So yes, I think that the board has to vote on all aspects of the scholarship.
Well, in that case, is there some mechanism we can do to get some feedback from the general population of seniors? Could we put something in the newsletter or somehow, or on TV or whatever, to let seniors know that we're doing this, and especially those who have grandchildren? I know one lady who was doing a lot of volunteering work because she was taking advantage of a state plan whereby you get money towards college for grandkids if you do a certain number of hours of volunteering. So there may be a lot of things we need to know about this.
Sure. So certainly once we decide that we're going to go forward with it, I will definitely make sure that goes into the newsletters. The other idea that I did have off of this that I just remembered was I was other Council on Agings, and I came across this woman, I believe it's Duxbury from somewhere, and instead of giving it to a high school senior, what they do is they put aside two $250 scholarships, and instead they go to a senior 60 plus, and that money goes to a senior who is either taking like online classes, trying to learn more about IT, or if they're doing like art classes to keep their minds healthy. So we could do it for people 60 plus, as long as they're showing us that, they have to send us the receipts that they took these courses or whatever the expenses were. And for that is us promoting more healthy living, more, mindful living for seniors. So I just wanted to throw that idea out there too, because I thought that was a fantastic idea, kind of, lessen the burden of the financial point on seniors and to give them an opportunity for us to kind of give back too.
Excuse me, Zoya had a question before. I have a question, but you're first in line. Zoya, go ahead.
My question was, is this amount on a one-time basis, or are we dividing it quarterly?
No, we could do just annually, one time a year. Perhaps we picked, two, like I said, we could do, my suggestion would be two. each for the amount of, say, up to $250. But let's say Betsy was taking an evening course at Quinsig, and she kind of submitted the paperwork that this is what she wanted to do, and say the course cost was $100. Well, even though we set aside $250, we'll give Betsy the $100. Does that make sense to everybody? And then say Shashi wanted to go and take a engineering something at Worcester State or somewhere in town. Somebody was teaching a class and it cost $250. So we would look at that paperwork and we'd be like, okay, you know what, let's reimburse them. Because again, it's the healthy living.
Barbara, do you have a question? Okay, I have a question. When you establish something like this, is it necessary to publish some kind of a position paper? The senior center is proposing that we establish the scholarship, that it's going to be worth this much. It'll be open to all these following people and so on. So what is the mechanism for doing that?
So again, we develop it here and we all agree on the steps and everything like that. Then we just simply advertise it. We put a due date. This is when papers are due. And that way, and then we go through and we will choose, going forward, what recipients or what applicants, would get the money back. Betsy?
Now, the reason I ask, excuse me, I'll just get you 1 minute. The reason I ask is because, as you all well know, the ones who live in town, that when you get your water bill or your tax bill, whatever, I think account, it's one or the other, you get an application form for the town scholarship and asking for money for the scholarship fund. So we have to figure out how they went about doing that. Perhaps we could learn something from them as to how you're actually going to implement this. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I do understand what you're talking about. I think that this one is a little bit different. The other one comes from the town. As this is an idea just coming from Council on Aging. I am curious to what Betsy does have to say, Shashi.
Go ahead, Betsy.
I would agree with you, Holly, that what you're describing is pretty similar to what other organizations do, and certainly like what the foundation does at our school when there's a certain fund. We have the money, so it's not like we're trying to generate the money. We're going to be offering the money. And I think for us to establish all the protocols, which would be, the rationale for using the money and how you'll use the money, how it will benefit the seniors or a senior in the town of Shrewsbury, I think we would set all of that up and then publish that to the town. I think it sounds like, if I'm listening to you correctly, Holly, that it's an initiative that would be sponsored by the Council on Aging. And we would put together all of our parameters and then we would put it out for bid, if you will, to anybody that would like to apply for the money. First thing. Second thing, I think it's my own personal opinion. I think we should diversify out the money dedicated to seniors in Shrewsbury, available to seniors and for seniors.
Excuse me. I think Norma is trying to say something. Norma, are you there? No, it's very scratchy. I don't know where. I can't hear you. Can anybody else hear her?
No.
I just have a thought that crossed my mind. This is Norma. When people contribute to the senior center, I think they might be thinking that they're just contributing to the, general contributions to the senior center. And how would they feel if they felt that not all their contributions were actually being used by the senior center per se?
So,
if you follow my train of thought.
So my thought right now is that because the senior center isn't open and hasn't been since March 17th.
Right.
And we don't have an open date and it's probably past January. I feel that because that money is still sitting there and because we do know that some of the participants that were coming in are no longer engaging themselves, if you will, while they're sitting at home. So I thought, since the money isn't going anywhere else at this moment, now this isn't something we have to do every year. This could strictly be a COVID event if we wanted to. But for my thought was, this center giving back. We're not paying for programs right now. We're not paying for instructors right now. We're not doing activities. So I just thought, and I have to tell you, so many people call in, and when we're making our wellness calls, they're just saying they're sitting at home and, again, their minds aren't active. And they can take online courses. That this doesn't mean they have to go somewhere. They don't have to sit in a classroom. My thought is, if we can take some of the financial burden off of somebody now, 60 plus, and engage them to, better themselves, if you will, through all of this, because again, we're coming into the fall and winter months. Isolation is just going to be even worse. So that's my point in bringing this up at this point.
Okay, so this isn't necessarily a yearly.
No, we don't have to make this yearly.
Oh, all right. I wasn't aware of that.
Norma, before we go any further, we have to investigate the proper steps to do it. In other words, to define the scholarship, how it will be administered, who the applicants will be selected, who the applicants are eligible. All that has to be documented and published before we can move forward on this thing. So perhaps the thing to do is to take a vote from the board to authorize Holly to investigate this and come up with the appropriate documentation. Anybody has any thoughts on that?
I think that's the correct.
Sawyer, go ahead.
I think that's the correct way to go. Is we propose a motion to allow Holly to conduct more investigations on this, and then she comes back to us with all the relevant information.
Barbara.
Excuse me, just for record, what fund is this coming out of?
This would come out of the gift fund.
Thank you.
All right. Do I have a motion to that Holly be authorized to investigate? What do you want to call it? Establishment of a scholarship using money from the gift fund, and to identify the eligible and the details of the scholarship. Sawyer?
I propose a motion to allow Holly to work on the wordings and improvement of a scholarship that the Council on Aging would like to establish.
Who would like to second it? Barbara?
I second it.
Okay. Now I have to take a roll call vote. Louise? Yes or no? Louise?
Yes.
All right. Betsy?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
And I also, Norma?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. So the motion is carried. You're on. Barbara, go ahead.
Is this going to be for a senior at a high school, or a person 60 and over?
Let's go with 60 and over.
Okay.
I think it's fun. Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to keep moving on. So one C
Next
is
item is disconnect and assist.
no.
No.
So we're still. So it's on C. It's the 20th celebration.
Ah, yes.
So after careful planning and trying to make things work remotely and virtually, Christine and we sat down and we finally kind of just threw in the towel and said that with everything going on right now and how busy SPAC is, Media Connection is trying to update virtual programming, things like that. If we were going to do something virtual for the 20th celebration, we wanted it to be amazing. And we're just not confident that we could get everything that we need. So what we would like to do is do a 21st celebration. and when we can actually meet in person and really plan it, because I just think at that point, it'll be even better than before, because people are just going to be so excited getting out of the building and things like that. So I'd rather, focus my attention on other things going on right now than a virtual celebration. So with that, we'd like to move it off another year.
Barbara?
I totally agree. We are all in a waiting period, and nothing is celebrated right now. So I totally agree. This is not a time to celebrate. So yeah.
Right. Okay. So with that said, I'll keep moving on. So D is Connect and Assist, and the resource guide. We have gotten a lot of positive feedback off of the video that we did, the Connect and Assist video that we shared, the new flyer that you should all have in front of you, keeping it straight to the point, easy contact information. And I am very excited about going forward with this and connecting with other organizations, town, businesses, departments, and things like that, trying to reach out to everybody, not just isolated seniors, but let everybody know what it is that we can offer. People just turning 60, they have questions about their Medicaid, Medicare, insurances, everything. So, and I did share that resource guide with a few of my colleagues, and what I've done is I've asked them to kind of look at it. Did I miss anything that we could add in? And many of them said that they're even going to make it their own. So what's great is now other towns are going to adopt the same thing and make it. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. So did anybody have any questions on Connect and Assist or the resource guide?
Oh, no,
Excuse me, Louise?
no, not on the resource guide. I had a question about the Connect and Assist. Are we doing any kind of connection with the youth and family services thing? I saw the article in the local paper. I went to the selectmen and presented the results of their all the work that they have been doing, and I don't think we ever saw any of that. We never got any of that, the results of their, and we were supposed to discuss it, I think, in July, and we never did. But I think when we look at the Connect and Assist, I think possibly if we can coordinate with them, I think, so that we don't duplicate any efforts. I don't know how we can go about doing that.
So as everybody did see the assessments that came back from SYSF, Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services, since those assessments came out, many of the things, the issues that they found during surveys have already been taken care of. They either fixed themselves during that process, or we have fixed them since my coming on in January. Turnover of staff has, taken care of a lot of those issues. The strategic plan, as the rest of the agenda will show, we've been working forward with SYSF, with other departments to fix and connect with them. The next one that I'm going to be talking about is and I might as well go right there since it kind of falls into what Louise was just saying, is with the outreach coordinator position. We did make an offer to somebody, and right now we're in salary negotiation stage back and forth. So we're working on that. Hopefully by the end of this week, we'll know something. I have a meeting today at 1:30 with Kristen Lass to speak a little bit more about that. But I am constantly in contact with the people over at SYS, same with ESWA and Worcester. And I have shared the Connect and Assist program with them. I have not yet shared the resource guide with them because I was trying to, again, reach out to my colleagues first to see if there was anything we needed to vamp up. but I think we're on the right path. We're doing the things that we need to get done going forward, especially for the fall and winter, which we've all discussed is a concern. So I don't know if I answered your question or not, Louise. It's an ongoing relationship with all of the town organizations and entities and things like that.
If I may follow up, I would like to have more information on exactly what and how the board maybe can cooperate or be involved in some of that. I mean, I know nothing about what is going on, and I know that you're working on it, but if you could forward some of that information so that we are aware of what is going on and see if there's some place maybe we could fit in and help out a little bit as well.
Well, and exactly, yep, and so exactly what you just said. So I needed to get it completed first before we start sharing all of the information and make sure everything is in line. I would say by the time we meet again in October, I'll be ready to share everything. And what that entails is we put an ad and we tell the community advocates, Zoya and Barbara, Christine and myself, we've all talked about how are we going to get the word out. The word is talking about it here, talking about it in one-to-one conversations, putting it in the community advocate, putting it in the newsletter, which we did last month, and it's going in again this month and will be an ongoing thing. It's on our website. I'm sharing it with my peers. We're going to reach out to churches and doctors' offices. That the newsletter flyer that you saw was actually done by a graphic artist, because my thought was if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. It's going to look professional, and we want to catch the eyes of everybody. So by October, I'm going to reach out to Alpha Graphics to see if they can print up the flyers for us, how much it will cost, and then we can actually start distributing those out too. I'm also looking to, and I think I mentioned this last month, I want to have some of the resource guide information on a simple like doorknob paper hanger. We talked about that versus a magnet that people would put on their, versus a brochure that people would get lost in their papers. But I was just thinking all the important numbers on a doorknob hanger, seniors get it if they want it, and information is always there.
Before you go any further, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, two questions that are related. One is, do you plan on developing a roadmap as to how we're going to get there from here? That is one question. The second question is, you're going to have this barrage of publicity in the next several weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say an ordinary person, let's say a working mom, somebody says, oh, here's something I could do. What do I do next? Who does she contact and what does she do?
So I'm not really so the purpose of the resource guide is if somebody can't get a hold of one of us, Council on Aging, they visit our website, and it will be in a downloadable format, or they can just look for the information that they're talking about. If you skip through the resource guide, what I tried to do was, so for instance, if AARP was in there, what does AARP do? How can they help you? And here's the phone number. So each one has a phone number. So the senior center is closed, or, it's a weekend, it's an evening, somebody can't sleep, that there's always a place for them to look. I would like to try to make some hard copies also available. Again, all of that has to be priced out. But this way, even when one of my staff members or a volunteer at the senior center answers the phone and somebody has a tax question or, a shine question, that resource guide is right there. And that volunteer or staff person can say, hold on one second, I'm going to get that information for you, instead of trying to Google online and everything else like that.
Barbara?
First of all, thank you for doing this resource guide, first of all. And it's wonderful that other towns are going to use it. And I'm thinking it's probably a living document that you're just going to keep adding to. And I love the doorknob hanger, because I can see that my mother would have hung that right on the kitchen doorknob, and she would have it there just like she had the fire information and police. Yep. So I'm really excited about this resource guide. I myself looked through it and was wowed by all the information in it. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Right. This is Norma. I'm very impressed with the resource guide too. But my question is, how is it going to get distributed to people that really need that information?
So again, it will be online. It will be, I plan on educating our staff and our volunteers with that information. So if somebody calls the senior center, they know right away, we have a resource guide. I'm going to get you that information. I'll get it for you. Do want to look into, as I just mentioned, having some printed up for people that would really just like a hard copy. And I need to price those things out because I assume that there would be a hefty cost to that. But I would like to have those papers available to, certain people at home that really just need that with them. But again, it's educating people. And I think once people understand where they can find that information, it'll just be easier for everybody.
Right. Oh, maybe if you put in the next newsletter, a brief explanation of the resource guide, and anyone that wants a hard copy can call in for one to be sent.
Sure. And that would probably end up going into the November newsletter, just because it's not yet completed.
Yeah, all right. Whenever.
Right. I think half the battle was developing it. And now,
Question?
My question, Holly, was once you get the doorknob attachment, how are you going to distribute that?
so I had a couple of thoughts on that, and we can put things into our newsletter. We can stuff newsletters. We can also have those out and about, just like when we put the newsletter out in the hotspots, the bank, grocery stores, the library, town hall, things like that. Upon request, we can do delivery, and we can also look into having them put in with the tax bills.
Before we go on to the next topic, I believe my Connect and Assist question has yet to be answered. My question was, somebody wants to be part of Connect and Assist, but that person is not a senior. That person says, I can go visit somebody. I can call somebody up. And so they call the senior center, right? Is that how they do it? Where
Yes.
is that information is what you can do, who do you contact? You got to get that information out. How do you propose to do that?
Are you talking like on a volunteer basis?
Yes. If some
So they would
volunteer who's not a senior feels that they can be of help, they'd like to go visit somebody. They got to visit somebody in a nursing home maybe, or visit somebody who's isolated. Okay, I'm not a senior, but I want to help. What happens next?
Well, that's why we have our office assistant / volunteer coordinator, and those things are already happening. We do have people doing medication deliveries, food deliveries. We have people starting to want to call us that they want to do phone calls. We had a senior high school student actually do the table of contents in the resource guide. So those things are already happening. And the way those started was, as soon as I came on into this position back in January, I was quick to make relationships with the school department, with, media communication, with SPAC. I've made a lot of friendships, if you will, outside of the Council on Aging. And that's how those relationships have happened. And Christine will attest that we get many phone calls a day of people wanting to volunteer. So people already know that we're in need of their assistance, their volunteerism. So it's happening, and I feel like it's building. Christine, I don't know if you want to add anything additional to that.
Okay, that's fine. So what you're saying in essence is that this Connect and Assist volunteering is part of the greater volunteering effort. Now, that is going to be made clear in your stuff that you're going to publish in the senior edition.
Yes. So I have mentioned it already briefly in, I think it was the September senior edition that the resource guide was coming out. So we will mention it again in October, and then by November there'll be more concrete information on it. Again, I don't want to start receiving phone calls about the resource guide at this point. because I want to make sure that I have all the information in it that I need for it to have and ready to share.
All right.
So if I may, I just want to keep going. E was outreach coordinator position. I did just mention that. We did make the offer. We are in salary negotiation stage. Hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have a little more information by that. And of course, once I do, I will email the board and keep everybody updated on that. F is the grab and go meals for September. And ESWA, Elder Services of Worcester, did contact me this morning, and to date, we have done 84 meals. And I think that is just amazing. And I know myself, I took a couple of phone calls last week, and exactly what we were trying to accomplish, we accomplished, because people said to me, I didn't want to sign up for Meals on Wheels because I wasn't sure if I was going to like the meals. And they're like, we didn't want to go through the application process. So now they have the ability to come and try out the meals before the fall and winter, and then decide if they want to go forward with that. Because after that, they can still do the grab and go, but it will cost them, or they can sign up for the Meals on Wheels. And I've explained to people that they don't need to have a meal every single day. They can do one day, they can do 2 days, they can do whatever they want, and that they fall into the weekends. So I want to thank the board for voting to make this happen for September, because I really do think it made a lot of difference for a lot of people. Does anybody?
Hang on. There are two hands up there. Who's first? Sawyer?
Financially, are we still all right, Holly?
So if we do the math, and just let me pull out my calculator. So 84 meals times $2.50, that's $210. We're well, and here is
We're within the range.
Yep.
Barbara?
I put it out in all the Facebook pages, the brochure you made. I copied and pasted it into all the Shrewsbury Facebook places, and lots of people shared it. So there's a lot of public support for this grab and go. So thank you so much for putting that together.
Yeah, I think again, this is that part of the connect and assist, right? We as a board collectively, we all connected with people in town, and we assisted them by getting them the food and being able to try something they might not have tried without this happening.
You know, this is interesting. You have 84 meals total so far for the month.
Yes.
You see that I think Meals on Wheels does over 100 per day.
Mm-hmm.
But what people don't realize, I think, is that when you sign up for Meals on Wheels, you don't have to sign up for every day of the week. You can't sign up for a certain number of days. You can say what days you want. I think people do that. And you can always call Elder Services and cancel. You say, oh, I don't like the meal for today. I think maybe we need to get the word out about that. But go ahead.
Yep, no, exactly that. And with those conversations that myself and the staff have been having when the people call, we do give them that information. So when they call, it's not only just how you come and pick up the meal. It's, by the way, if you like it, this is what you can do. Here's the phone number that you would call, and to get the application in. So absolutely. And so Christine is actually doing the October newsletter for us for October. So that is something we can put in there, so maybe we can remind people, as Shashi said, that they don't have to order 5. They can just order 1. They can cancel it at any time. And again, I always try to reiterate that they get delivered by a Shrewsbury volunteer. It's not just some business that's dropping meals off. It is actually a community member, which I think makes all the difference to people as far as comfort level.
Excuse me. Before we go any further, I noticed that there was a menu in the newsletter. The only problem with that is that font has to be very, very small.
My
I
point
think
exactly.
seniors needs the full-size font. The other thing is, the flip side of that same menu has dietary information. Fat, calories, yada, yada, all that stuff is on the flip side of that menu. So perhaps you would consider publishing that in the next menu also, the flip side. So they can get it full size with, of both sides, one with the menu and the other. They tell you day by day for each item what the breakdown of calories, fat, this and that. Because there have been cases where people have actually asked me, can you go get me that information? I can't find my menu. My doctor wants to see this. So they have seen
Yep.
that.
Sure.
All right.
Yep.
Said
So-
something about delivery, which was going to be one of my questions for Barbara. Who are these people delivering the meal? Are they
Nobody
meal-
delivered. No, grab and go doesn't get delivered. Grab and go is exactly that. People show up to the center, they knock on the door. Beth meets them outside. They put the meal on the table, and each person that comes up, they have to have a mask on. They grab their meals and then they go.
Because earlier on, you said something about if somebody's unable to come and pick it up, that you deliver it. But that's
So
no
we-
longer-
So what that ends up being is Meals on Wheels. So I don't want to confuse people with grab and go and Meals on Wheels. We did talk about once that somebody wanted to try it for September. We certainly would go drop off a meal if somebody couldn't get it. We haven't had any of those requests, but I definitely do not want to get into the habit of delivering grab and go when people should be applying for Meals on Wheels, because that's essentially the same thing.
All right, that's fine.
Yep.
You already answered questions from the last meeting's minutes, because I was going to ask Barbara, you had said just that.
Mhm. So, okay.
Because I think Elton is not too happy with other people delivering meals besides them.
Right. Agreed. So if we can, because I know that we're going to be spending some time on H, but so the center furniture has been delivered. So it is in. You probably haven't been able to look at it yet, and we haven't posted any pictures yet. The lobby area looks different. The furniture that we talked about finding a new home for it ended up going to Francis Gardens, kind of fluffing up their lobby area, making it a little bit more relaxed for the residents that visit that area. So, and the furniture went in a day, so it was perfect. And it went to very good use. So that's fantastic. We didn't throw anything away. Louise's hand is up.
Louise?
Where are the
Hey,
computers?
Louise?
The computers are still in the
Where are
lobby.
the
They're not.
computers, Holly?
The computers are still in the lobby. They're not yet up and running because they were supposed to be finished in March, but COVID stopped that. So I am working with the company to make sure that those get in. We were thinking about getting in there probably at the end of the month to at least have them up and running in case we were ready to open up the center. But the computers are still in the same place that they were before. They're up against the cabinets, the low-lying cabinets right in the
window.
middle. Yeah. No,
I
not in
know-
front of the window.
I know that the plugins were all on that cabinet, but I noticed that there's furniture there, and I don't know how you're going to adjust. I was just curious. Didn't see them, and I didn't know where they were.
Well, I'll tell you what. So next week when Christine and I are back into the office, we'll take a video or some snapshots and we'll share with everybody what the setup looks like. You know what? And as a matter of fact, Shashi, I wanted to tell you something. So we took down the shutters that were surrounded the office area. If you all remember, there was like windows and had shutters on it. So because of our conversations in the past about security and being able to see things going on, we took all of the shutters down. We can now see that people that come in through the side entrance by the bathrooms. We took the shutters down in front of the lobby. Everything is open. People can see us. We're not secluded like we, are in a bank or anything like that. And I have to tell you what a difference it makes to the entire area. And while we're still on the furniture and while I just brought up security, I did want to let you know that I am looking into a grant to look into having the security cameras put in. We did get a rough estimate. It would cost just under $15,000 to put in the security system to the building, both inside and outside. So what I am trying to do now is look for a grant that will help us pay for that, because as we know, there was lots of budget cuts this year and it's just not in any account in anywhere within the town. But I did want to let you know that as promised, I looked into that information and I'll still continue to work on that.
That's great.
I have a question about the furniture.
Sure.
Now, the furniture has already been delivered and it's in place now, so this may be academic. Because I was concerned that you have replaced cloth furniture with vinyl. Is that your personal preference or is that somebody's recommendation?
So the furniture that we purchased is all furniture that can be multi-surface cleaned. So if it should become soiled or something gets spilled on it, it is all, we all can clean it. As a matter of fact, Christine and I were talking about last week, because we have the time, grabbing a couple extra bottles of Scotch Guard and, taking care of some of the cloth seats that were already existing in the dining room area and things like that. And we did buy some additional cloth seats for outside the medical room. So when people are sitting waiting for their appointments, that, that they're comfortable. It's not just on a wooden bench or anything like that. So everything we purchase can be wiped down.
Okay. The next question I had for you was, I noticed that the furniture was kind of low, and I noticed that they didn't have much by way of shoulder and head support. Now, for somebody who's on a walker, trying to sit down and then to stand up, low furniture can be very difficult.
So some of that furniture, you're right, it is low lying, but we still do offer the regular chairs in the lobby area, just the regular, the ones with arms. So that's still an option. And we still do have a corner that has 2 of the high back chairs. So if somebody's not comfortable in one chair, there are other options for people to sit.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
And I noticed that about the groups of 4 chairs that are what shall we say, the hard seats that you cannot going to be comfortable for if you're going to sit there for a couple of hours, like Zoya will tell you when she plays bridge, right, Zoya? 4 hours.
Mahjong.
So I did not purchase new chairs. We are still using the same chairs that were there for, I'm assuming, years before.
Yes.
And so I'm not sure what other kind of chair you would want me to purchase, but there's just too many of them. And as you've all seen, we have the stacks and stacks of chairs in section B, room B, to utilize. So it didn't seem like it would have been a worthy cause for me to spend any money on things that we had plenty of. And you know what, to be honest, if you're going to sit in a chair for 4 hours, and I just learned this in another meeting that in a department head meeting, it's good that every 30 minutes you get up and shake out those legs and, move your arms around. And so, people have to be active.
Barbara, you're muted though.
All right, I want to come and sit for 4 hours and play Mahjong, please. Anytime. I would love to come and sit 4 hours and play bridge. Anytime. I'd love to come.
Yes.
Well, we're working on it. So with that said, so we'll take some video so everybody can understand exactly what we're talking about. We'll share that next week. I did want to just keep moving really quick because I have a feeling that this next check section might take up some time. So we'll move on to section 8, senior center policies, procedures, the scan card and waiver, the facility use agreement. So those were shared by Kristen Lass to the town council. And when I say town council, that means the law firm that works for the town of Shrewsbury. And they looked over everything that we had put in, and the only thing that they felt that needed to be changed was the acknowledgement on the waiver form. And so the wording that is in the waiver form that you have is by the town council and what they deemed appropriate to share. And like if we were going to have somebody sign their name, everything fits the bill, their requirements, necessary to have all those forms now go public.
Norma? Norma, you're on.
I'm listening.
I don't think she had anything.
Oh, okay. I thought you wanted to say something. I have an observation regarding the policies and procedures. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the town bylaws and the general laws of Massachusetts would supersede anything that we write. So as far as indemnity goes, if like somebody falls down my driveway, I'm liable, no matter what I say, because that's the Massachusetts state law. So I think it was Virginia's concern about indemnity. I mean, are we going? I see Virginia is not signed in yet. She may not sign in at all. So you got any thoughts on that?
Yes. So part of the strategic plan was to develop policies and procedures specifically for the senior center and for council on aging. So you're right. So even if we have these policies and procedures and somebody falls and hurts themselves, right? It does go beyond what we have at the senior center, but every organization does it. So like for instance, there's a jumping activity place for young kids in Shrewsbury. And every time I bring my kids there, I have to fill out the waiver form, regardless, no matter what, every single time I go in there. And there have been instances where, and on the form it says, if any bodily harm or injury, we will not be held responsible. Well, I happen to know that my friends have friends who have broken their arms, broken their legs, sprained their wrists, and things like that. And that's part of their liability insurance. But now we have it on our website when people enter the senior center or they fill out an application to become an instructor. At least we have it that it says, kind of like I don't want to put the wrong words, not like a buyer beware, but just like anything, you come into our facility and you're using our things could happen. And so it was necessary to make these policies and procedures. And every senior center has them or should have them. And now we have those. And again, brought to town council, they really didn't see anything wrong with it. And it's another box we can check off of the strategic plan.
Louise?
Has anybody?
Louise, we lost Louise.
Yep, I think she went to unmute herself and instead left the meeting.
Holly, I got a question. Have you looked at the policies and procedures of the neighboring communities? What are they doing?
So that's exactly how I built the ones that we have now. It took me quite some time to go through every one and pick what pertained to Shrewsbury. And a lot of them go in even more in depth of things that I didn't think that was relative to the senior center. And then I added certain things that I thought was relative to the senior center. For instance, I did add that the line about no sleeping. And I don't know how many board members are aware, but there were a couple of participants that would come into a senior center, drop their bag, and take a snooze on the couch. So I wanted to make sure that, again, that the things that I put in there is what I felt. Now, mind you, I only had about 2.25 months of observation time to put those policies and procedures in. And the great thing is they're always editable. So, we can fix them as needed and remove things as we want. But I thought it was necessary that before, if we're going to celebrate now our 21st anniversary and we're going to open, I want to make sure that, everything that should have already been in place is in place.
Louise, you
I'm back. I lost it for a while, but I'm back. I wanted to know if anybody has proofread these things.
Yes, Louise, it went to town council. It went to a law firm that Kristen last shared it with.
And they proofread it?
Everything.
They didn't do a very good job.
Okay.
There are quite a few mistakes, and I hesitate to send out anything in our name that is not correct, free of any kind of mistakes. Let's put it that way.
So I guess I misunderstood you. When you said proofread, I thought you meant are the things that I entered in there legal, but you're talking more about spelling errors.
I'm talking about I would be happy to do it if you want me to go through them and let you know, because I think it really needs. I guess that's a teacher in me, maybe. I don't know. Or my journalism training, I think, probably more so. But I hate to see documents going out over our name that are not correct.
So I would like to ask the board to vote to have our English professor teacher, Louise Russell, make those grammatical, I can't even speak now. Whatever it is.
She's overwhelmed with the request.
Grammatical edits. Grammar, I'm not even sure.
I'll do the proofreading.
Yes.
Is that a formal proposal? But Louise, let me ask you a question. Can you do it in Microsoft Word with the review feature? So we can all share it, except Barbara, who doesn't want to use it?
You know what I would prefer, Shashi, is I would prefer that if Louise has her hard copy, that she just simply with pen make those edits, send them to me, and then I will send out the revised.
If you can write it in a hard copy, you can just scan the hard copy and email the marked up copy to everyone if you don't want to use Microsoft
Well,
Word.
I'm not sure that we have to share a marked up copy if it's like doing grammar edits and things like that. Let's see what she sends back to me. If I feel that there are major edits, I will definitely share those edits with everybody.
That's fine.
Yep.
That's fine. I don't think we need to take a vote on that.
Sure.
Can you tell me, Holly, on the facility use and program application form, the third line down, it says use type. What does that mean?
So I don't have it in front of me, but I believe that is that how they're using the facility. Christine, do you have that in front of you?
No.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, Louise, where are you looking?
I'm looking on the front page of the facility use and program application form.
Oh, yeah, so it would be like classes, or if we rented out a space for someone to have a meeting. I think, Holly, you had mentioned it before that there was some outside group that would use the conference room. So it's not senior center related, we just rent the space for them to gather. So it's that kind of use. What are you using the room for?
Yeah.
They use a type of room.
Yeah.
I just think these kind of things need more clarification. I mean, I look at them, I have not a clue what you're talking about. And I don't think I'm the only one when they read these things.
So one of the things about the facility use agreement was there was so much confusion when people were booking the rooms, the various rooms in the senior center. Who was using them? Was it an overlap? do we have the same programs going on at the same levels? So when we reopen the senior center, programs aren't just going to be able to start like they were. People are going to have to come back and they're going to have to fill out those forms. That way I know who's using them. Are they certified? What level of activity is this? How long do they plan on, using the center? All things that we didn't know before. There was so much confusion for me walking, in and out of a room every single day, and I had no idea what was going on. And I remember specifically one time the side room A, which fits 100 people, was booked for 4 hours at a time for 4 people. That is not using our senior center to the best of its ability. So I want to make sure that, again, when we reopen, those same things aren't happening again.
No, I understand that. It's time that we do that. There's no question. Yeah. I just think that it needs to be clarified so that people that are using it know what to do with the form, that they don't have to keep questioning.
Mm-hmm.
That it's self-explanatory, I guess.
Sure. Shashi.
Shashi?
Zoya has a question.
Holly,
Yes.
on the room availability, you're charging a rent per hour. We've never charged rents before for.
So it will not be for seniors. It will not be for town departments. But my hope is that if we had, so for instance, I had a law company, a law firm call me up and ask if we had any availability. They needed an emergency place to have a meeting. And they wanted to know if we had any places available where they could meet. And I think it was like an hour and a half. I ended up letting them meet, but at the same time, after I let them meet, I was thinking, this is the opportunity where funds can start coming into the center, used for us to put aside. So anything that doesn't have to do with the senior center or outside businesses, organizations, or whatever, I feel if they're going to use our center, they should pay for the space as if they would any other place.
I agree.
So does that mean that, like our painting class, like the yoga classes, do they pay rent also?
No. So again, let's say somebody wanted to, or maybe there was a family that wanted to have a birthday party,
Okay.
and they wanted to use the facility, say on a Saturday. That really has nothing to do with the senior center, but I'd be more than happy to receive some, payment for the senior center being used. That way we can keep building the gift fund. Girl Scouts, if the Girl Scouts wanted to use it, even if they're a nonprofit organization, even nonprofits can pay a little bit of, but no fees for anything to do with senior center activities or programs. That does not mean that if we hire an instructor and an instructor says, well, for this particular class, it's $10, but that's completely different from a room fee using the center.
I agree.
I have a question. There are requirements that if you exceed a certain number of people, you got to have police detail.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think the farmers market requires a police detail. I'm not sure. Now, who pays for that, and how do these organizations go about getting police details?
So anybody that wanted to have an event where that happened, those organizations would be responsible for hiring the police detail. That's not an expense that the Council on Aging or the Senior Center would accrue.
No. They are responsible for making all the arrangements.
Yes.
Okay.
So exactly
Needs to be
that.
spelled out.
Right. So there is not a police detail at the farmers market, but exactly to that. Anybody that was going to have an event like that would pay for that themselves. That is not something that we need to get into at all.
No questions. I think, Norma, you have something? No,
No,
doesn't have.
all set.
Okay, I'm ready to move along.
Okay, fantastic. So transportation is still increasing. We did just offer, Cynthia and I interviewed a few people for van drivers positions, and we did just make 2 offers out. So their references came back, and they're just in the process of getting them their required training that they need to get started as soon as possible. We did, as I've mentioned before, we have lost a couple of drivers due to COVID concerns. We have a couple on medical leave right now for, that speaks itself. So we did just offer to 2. They came back great references, great experience. So we're looking forward to building up. We're already building up our fleet. Now we're building up our van drivers, which is fantastic, which is exactly what we want to do. I have 2 other things. One is the freezer. So I mentioned last month that my friend had a freezer, and we did have it inspected. The inspection came back great. However, after I did a little bit more investigating, if you will, and found out that the freezer really, if it was being resold in a warehouse, that it was overpriced. So my friend has decided to just keep the freezer, but I would like to talk to the board to get permission to purchase another freezer or a freezer to use to have ready for the fall and winter, just as we discussed before. And I did find one on Home Depot. I believe it was Home Depot. Home Depot knows. They have them ranging anywhere between $600 and $1,200. I've now thought about perhaps instead of having a stand-up freezer, just doing a freezer chest on the floor where we can kind of pile things up on top of each other, because as I've mentioned in previous months, ESWA have been giving us food boxes, and basically they come in 10-pound cardboard boxes. So I would guess that that's what will keep coming. So, whether we pile it and it's a chest or if it's a stand-up freezer, I just still think that it's super important for us to purchase going forward with the fall and winter. But that money would have to come from the gift fund because we don't have it in our other accounts. I see Zoya's hand up, Shashi.
One thing to think about a chest freezer is all seniors bending down to get all those things. Is that going to be a problem?
So that is very good point to bring up, since there is a lot of seniors in the kitchen area that would be assisting us getting the food out and things like that. So that is a very good thought. The other thing is that I can do is, if you would like, I can put together some various freezers in a document, and we can share that at the next board meeting for October, and to have perhaps look into purchasing it in October. If you'd like me to get you various kinds with various prices, and kind of doing the what's it called? Like a bid, putting the bids out for which one we would purchase. ESWA did just contact me a week ago saying that they had more frozen food available coming to us, and they asked us to put in our orders. This one is 10 pounds of various meat, and I'm not exactly sure what that means. I think it's sausages and hamburgers and hot dogs again, but I could be wrong. And so I did go ahead and I ordered 60 frozen boxes. I see Bob.
Barbara has a
Honestly, I think that we all don't need to do input to a freezer. I think you know what the senior center needs. Can we just vote to say yes to the freezer? I don't want to lose all that food. Last time we had to give it away because we didn't have any place to put it. So I don't think that sounds like it's going to drag on. I'd like to see the freezer there as soon as possible. So can we just have faith that Holly's going to pick the right freezer and so that we don't lose all that food?
If you want, you can give, if you want to vote with what Barbara's saying and put a cap on the price, that I don't exceed a certain amount.
Well, the only thought I have is we still don't know what's out there. For instance, we may have refurbished freezers available. Home Depot and Lowe's may have them. And especially if they know it's for a good cause, they might be willing to give us a price break. So if you can find a vertical freezer that will not cause back problems, that's the other thing that that we need to look at. But if you want to move forward on this, perhaps you should take a vote on it saying, yes, we authorized Holly to pursue this matter further and to pick the type of freezer that's most appropriate for the senior center's needs. Kind of loosely interpreted for seniors, vertical, all that kind of stuff, price range in a reasonable price range. Perhaps that should be the, anybody wants to propose that?
I make a motion that we do that.
Anybody second it?
I second.
I second it.
All right, roll call vote. Holly? Yes or no?
I can't vote. I can't vote.
That's right, you can't vote. I always forget that. You're standing there. Betsy?
Yes.
Norma?
Oh, yes, yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Zoya?
Yes.
Louise?
Yes.
Okay, passed by acclamation.
Is there a price?
You are going to come back with us as what you consider to be a reasonable price, since you're well aware of our finances.
So again, this would end up coming out of the gift fund. And so I have a little bit of confusion. Am I waiting until October, or is this just a purchase and I can just, you guys are just letting me do what I can do the best I can do?
Barbara?
I propose that we give Holly a cap of $1,400, $1,400 for the freezers, but only if, Holly, is that what you said the price range was?
Yeah, they go from anywhere from 6 to about 12.
Okay, so 1,400 and whatever you think we need at the senior center. I don't want to lose all that food. There are so many people that need food, and it would be a shame. So we need a freezer. Holly can negotiate with Home Depot or whatever to find a refurbished or whatever freezer that there is available. But I propose that we put a cap of $1,400 on it.
Are we going to just amend the previous resolution, or do you want to take a new vote?
This is a new
It's a new vote. Okay.
price.
You are proposing to put a cap of $1,400 on the freezer, but Holly is at discretion to buy whenever she think it's appropriate, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Seconded?
Second.
Zoya?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Norma?
Yes.
Louise?
Yes.
Yes, and I vote yes, and you're authorized.
Fantastic. That is great. So I will start working on that. That is a month in a nutshell for me. I think that we've done a lot in the last, Christine, you have something?
We wanted to ask about bingo.
Oh, go ahead. I'll let you take that one.
So we want to start offering a virtual bingo session, trying to do it on a weekly basis. And we were asking the board's approval to offer prizes. I wasn't thinking anything extravagant, maybe like a $5 gift card to either, I think for the volunteers this year, we had done Dean Park Pizza, even Dunkin' Donuts. We could do a variety, but just try to kind of make something fun, give the seniors a fun activity, and try to keep everybody as connected as we can in this very disconnected world.
Betsy?
Christine, I have a quick question. Do we have businesses in town who are supportive of the senior center and who might be willing to donate prizes in addition to whatever we might give out of our funds?
Yeah, we can certainly ask.
I can put together a request.
I have a general question. The use of the term bingo implies money, like in churches.
No.
That's their game.
No, I disagree.
So there's no fee to play. It will just be an online session. We're actually doing we're doing a practice session with the COA staff later this week to try to figure out the technical aspects of it. But I was hoping to advertise the sessions in the newsletter this coming month. So that's why we wanted to ask. Yes, Louise?
Louise?
I know that the Friends had a permit to do all kinds of things. And I think bingo fell under that. There are certain regulations for bingo, I know, but I'm not sure exactly now what they are. But I would look into it with the state. They're very particular about the bingo.
If you're going to do any kind of exchange of money, that's where the state comes into play. But if we're going to just purchase a few items, say at the dollar store, and then we're dropping the prizes off, that is completely different. And we're not asking people to pay to play, and we're not giving a monetary reward. So for that, we do not need to worry about state regulations.
I was just concerned about the use of the word bingo. You can do what you want.
Yeah,
that it
so
might be misconstrued.
So I have to tell you that there are a lot of senior centers and council on agings right now doing virtual bingo. And they're doing it just like this. So bingo there's all different levels of play of bingo, and we would make sure that we stay in the parameter that we're not raising any eyebrows.
Exactly.
So Christine, how about for October? Let's advertise it, and I'd be very happy to just go pick up some dollar store prizes for October, and let's see what the participation level is, and then we'll if this is something we continue in November, we'll look at different prizes at that point.
Okay.
So thank you for your time. That's all I have for the agenda, unless anybody has any questions. And I look with that, it's what we are.
Yeah, this is Norma. I have a quick question. You know how important it is to reach out to as many of the 1,000 seniors in Shrewsbury we can. So my question is, how many newsletters are presently being mailed out?
So actually, we did something a little different for the month of September. Christine, do you want to kind of just update on how we did the mailing for September?
Yes. So I don't have the numbers in front of me. I apologize. But for September, we sent out 304 newsletters. So our standard list has about 225, somewhere around there. And what we did was we pulled any seniors that had called into the senior center within the past few months that were over 80. And anybody who had called in, we sent a introductory issue of the new mailing list with a little note that said, if you would like to continue to receive the newsletter, please just give us a call and we'll add you to the ongoing list. I think I've added another maybe 15 to 20 people already this month. So it's been a big increase. And I know that we had talked about doing that again, maybe a different age bracket to try to reach out to more people to see if they would like to get it. But we have gotten several calls to add people to the newsletter, add their neighbors to the newsletter. So the list is growing every day.
Norma, one thing to keep in mind is that there are people who are not on the mailing list, but like the towers, for instance, we leave a stack of them over there. And I've seen a stack over at the courtesy counter at Price Chopper, for instance. And I don't know how many people actually get to them. Because they are not officially on the mailing list, but they get it anyway.
Yep. So
I know that part. I know that part, but one of my pet peeves is that there aren't enough being mailed out to seniors that would really benefit from them.
Right.
And
so
I think the Meals on Wheels drivers bring them out to the people. We include it in the meal also.
So as everybody knows, before there was an overmailing of the newsletters. People were getting 5. Some people weren't getting any. People that moved were still getting them.
I'm aware of all that,
Right.
but
What I
yeah.
want to let you know is that one of our volunteers, and I will name her, Carmela, has just been amazing. And she shows up at the senior center, and we put 3 boxes of 1,000 newsletters in her car, and she drops off. She drops off at all of the housing authorities. She drops them off, at every housing community that you can imagine. We have received phone calls of people that are actually picking. I've received phone calls from children who want to put their parents on the mailing list because they saw the newsletter at the shopping market. And so their parent may not have ever known that there was a newsletter, but like I said, we've had daughters and sons say, can you please put my mother on the newsletter? This is their name, this is their address. And we're like, absolutely. So the new newsletter started in, I think it was April. And we started with only about 100 mailing, and we're already up to 250, 275 in just a couple of months. So that
shows how many seniors really want and will benefit from this newsletter.
Absolutely. And we've had many, many comments stating how people just really like the new newsletter, how it's very informative, it's colorful, it's inviting, and so we're just expecting those numbers to continue to increase.
Well, good. We're heading in the right direction. I just want it to continue to grow.
Absolutely. Nope, I completely agree with you. So for the sake of time, because it is just after 11, unless anybody has any other questions for me or Christine or anybody else, I think that
I think if someone would make a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion
to adjourn.
Anybody second it?
I second it.
Good. Betsy,
Yes.
Toya,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Norma,
yes.
Louise.
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned.
very good.
Welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Welcome.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Everybody.
Right on time.